Hi everyone, it's Denise from Dobby Books. So this is the weekend, it's a Sunday, so I'm going to show you all the stuff that I got. You know, just wouldn't be a good week without some. The first thing I got, I ended up ordering because I really wanted to read this. I had mentioned it in previous videos on my Middle Ages study, and it's this one by Procopius, The Secret History. So I have a primary source history text to read that I'm very excited to read this. And if any of you don't know what this is about, Procopius was like the royal um, historian for the Eastern Roman Empire. And I believe it was under Justinian that he served. So he got to see the ins and the outs going on. So while he was alive, he wrote all the good stuff about Justinian, all the great stuff. Just this wonderful guy, great guy. But as soon as, but in the meantime, he's keeping logs, I guess, whether it's mental notes or written notes, about the intrigues behind the scenes. And he put this together with a special note that it was not to be published until after his death, which is exactly what happened. So now we've got all that steamy, gossipy stuff that we love to read on this by Procopius, The Secret History. Second, because I have, where is it? Because I have this book, The Civilization of the Middle Ages by Norman F. Cantor, who was a medievalist, right? And he has a good reputation, apparently. I heard about this book he also wrote called Inventing the Middle Ages, the lives, works, and ideas of the great medievalists of the 20th century. So what he's doing in this book is he's writing about other historians who have written about the Middle Ages, a little bit about their life, their sort of the curriculum vitae, and trying to give a perspective as to why they're coming from the point that they're coming from when they write about the Middle Ages. I love this idea. This is what I try to do when I'm reading historical something. I look at the author and I think, wonder why they wrote this, right? It's what my capstone ended up being about, wasn't it? Philip Pullman, and trying to figure out why did he write this middle grade YA series with this perspective, right? So that was part of it. And this book here, I like to watch when I get the chance. There's Memoria Press. I've gotten a lot of curriculum stuff from. They are based on the classical learning model, and Martin Cawthron is one of the regular people on this podcast that I listen to, and you can see it on YouTube as well. He's a voracious reader, and he's with a group of three other people, and they joke around and they sort of cut each other up, and they're just a nice, friendly group. And Martin is usually the more serious one, and he's sitting at the end table and he's always taking notes. I notice that about him. So when he starts to give his input on whatever the topic may be for that particular podcast, usually he will come up with a book title that will expand on the topic that they're talking about, some aspect of it, if not the whole topic in general. And I have found so far that any book that he has recommended has been excellent. Really, he's the type of friend you like to have, because he'll mention a book to you, you'll read it and think, wow, what a great book. That's Martin Cawthron. And this is one that he suggested, How to Think Like Shakespeare, Lessons from a Renaissance Education by Scott Newstock. And from what I gather, well, let me read a little bit about the back cover. A lively and engaging guide to vital habits of mind that help you think more deeply, write more effectively, and learn more joyfully. It's a fun exploration of the craft of thought, one that demonstrates that what we've lost in education today and how we might begin to recover it. In 14 brief chapters that draw from Shakespeare's world and works, and from other writers, past and present, Scott Newstock distills enduring practices that can make learning more creative and pleasurable. Written in a friendly, conversational tone and brimming with insights. How to Think Like Shakespeare enacts the thrill of thinking on every page, reviving timeless ways to stretch your mind and hone your words. And it says Scott Newstock is professor of English and founding director of Pierce Shakespeare Endowment at Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. And of course, I'm sure I think it's a pretty intelligent guess that the author Newstock is going to lean more towards the classical tradition of teaching, which talks about the three levels of learning: grammar, logic, and rhetoric, and how if we teach along those lines, we can have a cumulative effect, not just on ourselves, but for our students as well. And they'll have these tools to take with them moving forward. I'm looking forward to this. All right. Next one is a book I saw that, of course, caught my eye, being of Latin American descent. And the author's name sounded familiar, Marie Arana. And it's entitled Latino Land, a portrait of America's largest and least understood minority. And I believe this is a collection of essays writing about experiences growing up as a Latin American. And I believe this might be focused on, no, it isn't, not just Mexican. So the author, Marie Arana, is the author of the memoir American Chica, a finalist for the National Book Award. Two novels, Cellophane and Lima Nights, the prize-winning biography Bolivar, Silver, Sword, and Stone, and The Writing Life, a collection from her well-known column for the Washington Post. She is the inaugural literary director of the Library of Congress and is the recipient of an award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters. And she lives in Washington, D.C. and Lima, Peru. And it talks about the Latin American population and how it's grown here in the United States. And she says they are racially diverse, all these Latin Americans. They're a random fusion of white, black, indigenous, and Asian, and some have ancestors who were here long before the continent's earliest immigrants. Others came later from many parts of the world. Their history and contributions are bound to surprise you. Maria Rana draws both on extensive research and on her own experiences as the daughter of a Peruvian father and American mother, straddling two worlds, as many Latinos do. And this is something that I really related to because I had a Mexican mother and an American father. And there were two identities that we grew up, me and my siblings. For years, we thought we had to choose between the two. And it took us a long time to realize we did not have to do that at all. Very interesting. Latino resilience and character. Latino Land unabashedly celebrates Latino resilience and character and shows us why it is essential that we understand this booming segment of America. Yeah, especially these days in this particular climate that we're in. Latino Land. I'm going to enjoy this. When I was sort of sifting through this, I could see that it was various authors of Latin American descent and their experiences in various different settings and these different viewpoints. I loved the variety of it. I thought this is really going to speak to me. So I got this. Next one. This is a book I purchased secondhand from eBay. I thought it was a paperback, but it's an old hardback copy, former library copy, because you can see the little sticker there. This is Claudius. I'm reading it as part of, with Bob, with the Robert G. Reader of Books, reading the Roman Emperors. And this is by Barbara Levick by Yale University Press. And this is the same one that Robert's reading. And I don't know, maybe Robert will recognize this. This was formerly in the library of the Jesuit Krause McCormick Library. And I believe that's in Chicago. There's a little thingy on the back here. Remember these? And there's a library card here, and I only see one name on it. Checked out January 12th, 1995. And I can't quite read the name. This person also renewed it on that date. Okay, they renewed it on that date as well. But the great thing about library copies is they could really be in fantastic condition, you know. And this one, it's in fantastic condition. And there's a picture actually of the author there, see? The glasses tell me this was probably a picture taken in the 1980s. Remember the monster glasses back then? Now we have new monster glasses now, so. Yep, I got it. So this is something I'll be starting as part of the Roman Emperors. Claudius by Barbara Levick. And the one that I just got a couple days ago, because I heard Angelia talking about this on her BookTube channel, and I thought I could read this for Jane Austen July, because I finished my book Sense and Sensibility, and I would love to read a little more of this book. It's entitled Jane Austen's Bookshelf, a rare book collector's quest to find the women writers who shaped a legend. And for those of you who have read Jane Austen, you know that she mentions other authors in her various novels, names that aren't going to ring a bell. And this author was addressing the female authors that either inspired Jane Austen or that she mentioned in one of her other novels. And Rebecca Romney is the author. She's a rare book dealer and the co-founder of Type Punch Matrix, a rare book company based in Washington, D.C. She is the rare books specialist on the History Channel's show Pawn Stars and a co-founder of the Honey and Wax Book Collecting Prize. In 2019, she was featured in the documentary on the rare book trade, The Booksellers. I saw that. Romney is the author of Printer's Error, Irreverent Stories from Book History, and the romance novel in English, A Survey in Rare Books, 1769 to 1999. Her work as a bookseller or writer has been featured in the New York Times, The Atlantic, Forbes, Variety, the Paris Review, and more. I don't think I'm going to read all of it before the end of the month, but that's okay. If I read some of it, that's still fine. But I'm so curious as well to learn more about those authors that Jane Austen was inspired by or mentioned. I know I have a couple of those authors' books on my shelves. I managed to find them under the Penguin Classics editions. So I guess I'll have more to say about this as I read through more of it. The paperback edition is going to come out, I think, in a few months. It's only available in hardback right now. And then I went to my library sale after a long absence to see if I could find anything, any sort of Middle Ages sources to read, because you know I have endless space on my bookshelves. So this is what I got. Let's see, open my bag here. This, I probably didn't need this, but I couldn't resist. It's Penguin Classics, a complete annotated listing of Penguin Classics and 20th Century Classics. I'm sure my big orange book is probably going to have this list as well. But it's, you know, it's something I could add to my Penguin Classics editions. This is a great book. And it mentions medieval literature. It's going into Louise May Alcott, Erasmus of Rotterdam. So it's going all the way back. Let me see, what's the earliest? How is it? Okay, so it's divided into the various genres. Several of them. Art and architecture, autobiography and biography, drama, economics, history and politics, literary criticism, literature, philosophy, poetry, religion, sagas, science, travel, and then the index. And this is just the coolest thing. Look, I'll show you a couple of pages here. It looks a lot like the Penguin Orange book that I had that I showed in one of my other previous videos. It's this big orange hardbound thing that's fantastic. It's got all the Penguin classics that have ever been published up to now. And I don't know, I just think this is just a cool little thing to have with my other folio stuff. So I'm a Penguin classic stuff. The next one I got And I have this, okay, but the reason, and I don't have this particular copy, but I do have Karl Marx's The Communist Manifesto. This little tiny thing here, I didn't purchase because I wanted a second copy, but because I, throughout the book, the previous owner meticulously underlined and wrote in the margins her thoughts and reflections on this book. Like, here's an example here. I love how they're nice, straight little lines, and her penmanship is beautiful. There we go. And you can see at the bottom of the page, she also wrote some notes. Let me show you another page. I love here, look at this. See how she just does those margins nice and straight? You know she had a ruler. And then she wrote her thoughts on that. I just love her penmanship. I love this. Marginalia does fascinate me because it kind of gives you a window into the reader's mind. I find that fascinating. And I got the book solely because I wanted to keep this beautifully marginalia filled book. Just a whim. So there's that. Then this one, hold on. Again, this is a Middle Ages source. It has the same title as the first one I got, but it's a different author. The Inquisition, Hammer of Heresy by Edward Berman. Looks like it was an old library copy, but I don't see. I love what great condition it's in. So they took the time to put this in a wonderful slipcover. The hardbound copy, hardbound book itself is in fantastic condition. Look at that spine. It's not even wobbly. It's really just like in brand new condition. It's fantastic. And this is by Dorset Press in New York. And this one I think is more like, it's in more of a layperson's terminology or fashion. This was published in 1984. And look what great condition it's in. Wow. I wonder, did they read it? And it has 3 parts: the medieval Inquisition. The second part is the decline of heresy and the institutionalization of witchcraft. The third part is Spain and the rebirth of the Inquisition. And then, of course, there's subheadings. And there's only one page that I found that had markings in it. One. I think that's pretty good for a book that was published in the mid-1980s. So this is going to be interesting to read. Compared to this earlier one that I had gotten, this one is more like a college textbook, the way it's formatted. And this one is just more of a easier read, maybe not as detailed as this would be. This one is by Francisco Bethencourt. And this one is a Cambridge University Press publication. And this one is Dorset Press. All right. The last one is because this history really does. Oh, no, this isn't the last one. I've seen this book. And because I'm getting close to, all right, so whenever I get around to studying American history, world history is going to be woven into there. But I know I'm going to be able to delve a little bit more into American history with more detail. I knew this was probably the time to get this book, since it was only $1. What the heck? It's in great condition. Undaunted Courage by Stephen E. Ambrose. And it's about the Lewis and Clark expedition. Looks familiar. And it's in very good condition. A paperback. Look at this. Spine looks fantastic. This is by Simon & Schuster. And I have the journals. I don't know whether it was Meriwether and Lewis. The logs of Lewis and Clark. I purchased a book that has that because I thought that was a good primary source to have. And this is a good secondary source to have. it's probably, I'm sure it's going to complement the journals that I have. So this is going to be for future reading when I get there. And the last one is on a topic I always want to educate myself more about. No, it's not the last one. All right, let me take it out since I already grabbed it. And this is by Harcourt Brace. The author's name, the book cover is, the dust cover is gone. The author's name is Colin Spencer, and this was published in 1995. And it's entitled Homosexuality in History. And the author himself was talking about some of the homophobic reactions he was hearing and encountering. And some just he was very dissatisfied with the explanations given by these individuals. And it just sort of annoyed him to a point where he said, well, you know what, we need to set this straight. Let's get some real history down here. Let's get these facts right. And this is what inspired this book. I love stories like that. And the last one, again, Martin Cawthron, who recommended How to Think Like Shakespeare. They were talking about the other people on the panel, how they were reading Moby Dick, and one of the participants in particular says she's slogging her way through it because Herman Melville tended to go into tremendous detail about things. And she sort of jokingly, half jokingly, talked about how, oh, I know how to run a ship now. And then she was going into the various aspects of sailing a ship, and you have to take care of this and take care of that. And this area over here, I can tell you all about that. So, and she said that's what made it hard for her as she was reading through the book. And Martin Cawthron had said, well, I would recommend if anybody is going to read Moby Dick, before they attack that, he said, read Billy Budd. It's a much shorter story, and it's a good introduction to Herman Melville's writing, his writing style, whatever, on a much shorter scale. And he's not kidding. Look how little this is. And this is Billy Budd. And this was sort of in the back of my mind. I didn't think of getting it, but I saw it on the shelf, right? And I said, oh, Billy Budd. And it was the only one. And it's in great condition. Look at, I mean, of course it has the yellowed pages, but if you look at the condition of the book itself, it's really very, very good. And this particular one is published by Ventura Books in New York. Isn't that interesting? And this one was published in 1980. And it's in wonderful condition. So that's when you wonder, maybe the original owner purchased it and forgot to read it, or maybe it was one of those books that was never sold. It sort of stayed on the shelf or in a box somewhere in a bookstore. But good, lucky me, I got it. This is probably 50 cents, so I did good. So those are all the books. Let me see if I can stack them up for you. I'm going to go according to size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books I got this week. Oh my gosh. I'm so out of control. Okay, so here's my stack. First, the blank side. How's that? Okay, there. Okay, now turn it around. Right? Ooh. And here's the other side. Wow. 12 books I got this week, people. I'm going to be busy organizing. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be safe. Be courageous. Be strong. I will see you in a few days. Bye-bye.